What's up, fam? Welcome to another episode of Good, Bad, and Ugly about real estate. We have a special guest for you today, Stella Hahn. Woo-hoo!
Woo-woo.
How you doing, Stella?
Excited to be here. I'm doing great.
So Stella is a new friend of mine. We just met recently. Stella, why don't you tell everybody about yourself, about your journey in real estate, and we'll go from there.
Sure. Sounds good. Well, super excited to speak and meet everyone. And thanks for having me again, Jose. I'm Stella. I'm a real estate investor. Started investing around 5 years ago and been really lucky to have built my personal portfolio to a little bit over 150 units. And really what inspired me to get into real estate was just my parents' journey. I grew up in the Bay Area. Both of my parents, they work in technology. And, as their kind of side hustle and their passion project, they were flipping houses in the Bay Area for, the past decade. And I pretty much grew up as the cheap family labor in our family, but, certainly saw just, what it created for our family. And, I think just seeing how my parents were so passionate and how it was, really helping them kind of define their own destiny. Like that was just so empowering for me. And, I just remember, going to like Home Depot, we kind of joke that that's our Disneyland and, covering our noses and like painting the property and all of that. Like it is truly like, you get to control your future with your own hands. And I just love that part about real estate investing so much. So naturally, once I, started getting my first few paychecks on a job, I was like, how do I get into real estate myself? I want to build my own portfolio. How does that work? But, ran into a lot of struggles in the early days where, it's hard to buy anything in the Bay Area. The regulations are also very, landlord unfriendly. And, you need $1 million to buy a shack. And that's just not the money that I had. And, everybody was talking about out of state investing. That really piqued my interest. But, I never really kind of stepped foot outside of California or the Bay Area, like had no idea how all that worked. And I still remember just, being on Bigger Pockets and like scrolling through all these different, posts and forums, trying to get, all sorts of advice. And that was just really intimidating for me. Like it felt like, the more I knew, the harder it was to even make a decision because I just wasn't sure like what is good advice and what's the right step for me. So really had my sort of breakthrough moment where I found a few partners just through these different networking events and communities that I was a part of. They had a bit more experience than me. They were investing in Atlanta, which was a market that I had my eyes on. And we ended up going in together on a single family home. And that was my first ever investment out of state. Didn't need to put 200 grand in all by myself. We split the down payment. I got to work with people who could like show me the ropes of how everything works. So that was honestly like how I went from 0 to 1. And it was such a game changer where I'm like, okay, like I got to just always, build an amazing team around me, like people who have my back, people I can grow together with. So, pretty much joint ventures and partnerships have, been the way that I roll and how I've done most of my investments. And, now at 150 units, it's still, how I love to invest because I don't have infinite capital. I need to, also rely on other partners. I'm not good at everything. I'm a numbers girl, coming from a software background as well. Like I love the numbers, but if you told me to go paint a mural for an Airbnb or, like manage the property managers, that is not my forte, not what I enjoy. So, I love to have people that have complementary skill sets as me. So yeah, here I am today, 150 units, still looking to grow, still looking to scale. Also creative fractional, which is my baby. I know we'll kind of get into that in a little bit as well. But, my dream and vision here is to really just, build on top of what's worked so well for me and others around me is like creating a community and a platform to help people find their partners in real estate investing and be able to, go from 0 to 1 and 1 to 100 with, their dream team to really make things happen.
Awesome. So you said you have 150. Are those like all single family homes or do you have some multifamily in your portfolio?
Yeah, I have a mix. So started out with single family And then I was like, how do I scale this? Let's do some multifamily. Kind of dabbled across a lot of different things. Like I've tried smaller ones, I've tried larger ones, and I think my sweet spot right now is small multifamily. I feel like it kind of has the goodness in both, where it's like things are still very controllable for me personally, but then you still get that scalability effect. So that's where most of my portfolio is at right now, is small multifamily.
And is that like joint venture, or do you syndicate on those, or how did you take those down?
Yeah, mostly joint venture. For the very, very large deals, I've decided that syndication works better for me. I don't have the capacity to be a GP on a ton of deals. So usually like the small ones are, my good sweet spot,
Sure.
when I'm, more involved in the day to day. But for like super large units, I usually like to definitely go with another really trusted partner who can handle a lot of the day to day.
It's tough.
Yeah.
Uh, Anyway, one of the biggest reasons why I wanted to talk to you for again is because of your baby, as I like to call it, fractional. Can you share with the audience, what is fractional, what how it the idea developed in your head, right, and you made it manifest, and we'll just start from there. Why don't you go?
Yeah, sure. So Fractional, we are a platform that helps investors joint venture. So essentially co-invest in real estate together. So, say for example, Jose, you see a property that, maybe you can't take down on your own, right? You want to find partners. How does that work, right? So on Fractional, we're essentially streamlining the whole process where you get to build a community of investors who are interested in partnering with you. You share an opportunity with them. Everybody decides, hey, we actually want to partner together and take this deal down together. So on Fractional, we are essentially taking over and handling the LLC creation, the legal entity, helping everybody pull their capital together directly through the platform, doing identity verification. So everybody is legit, everybody is who they say they are. And then, now you have the legal structure, you have the funds, you have the partnership to, take down this deal together, right? So that's, how you get to collaborate on a deal. And then from there on, it doesn't stop there, right? An investment is going to be active for, a period of time. So, there's all the communication, there's all the numbers with bookkeeping, tax filings, profit distributions, all of that. So we actually take care of that and automate it through technology on the platform as well. So think of it as just, a one-stop shop for people to be able to have a very collaborative space and do deals together.
Awesome. That's a really quick overview of something that is an awesome tool. When you first shared with me fractional, I was like, oh my god, this is like the answer to so many um, of financial problems for an investor. So can you share? Because I know how this works, but I want you to share with the audience, right? How having a community in fractional. Let's say we had a small investor that maybe had 5K to invest, right? But would like to do like you are investing in multifamily. How can somebody with a community in fractional who has members in their community with, let's say, only 5K to invest could potentially invest into, let's say, a 400 unit property or project that would require like 65 million to take down, right?
Mhm.
Somebody with 5K may not think that they can invest in such a project. So can you share with and kind of explain how that would work?
Yeah, definitely. So, traditionally, right, like with all these large projects, like, they have traditionally gone through the syndication route where, a group of investors, they're going to be extremely passive. And if they want to invest in a syndication, you would need to be accredited, which means you have a shit ton of money, and usually the minimum investment is like 50K, 100K plus, right? So I think a lot of people have the misconception where it's like I have to be really rich in order to invest in real estate or do or be a part of a bigger deal. But with fractional, what we're creating is this investment club and a way for people to joint venture together on deals that really just opens up access. And we allow any investor. You don't have to be accredited. You can be non-accredited as long as, you're actually interested in participating in how the investment is going, having a say, being, wanting to care enough to vote on something, right? Really opening the doors for an everyday investor to participate in real estate. So how it works is, you should join a community where there is a leader that, you trust, that you want to work with. So, say, Jose, you've got your community where, you've invited people, your family and friends, your coworkers, people in the sub to community, right? Like all these people want to do deals with you. And, you would then share an opportunity you're looking at. And, anyone that's in your community, whether, they have 5K, 10K, 20K, whatever it is, as long as, they're willing to participate at the very minimum, like voting on decisions, as long as they want to be active in that sense, they can invest and, be a partner in this joint venture so that you guys can take down this deal together.
So what I like to share with people is that, you start off as a small fish, 5K or whatever, but let's say we have 20, let's say 30 people that put 20K in, or 5K, that's 150K. So now you go into a project that maybe needs 300K. Now you're a majority lender on that deal, and where you may not even be able to get into a deal could now be getting what they call, A level, or, priority level type of returns, where it's, preferred 8%, um, potentially 20-25% return, back in the good old days. So that's one of the benefits I really feel with fractional is there, because now you're taking somebody who may not have been able to invest in larger projects, now can, I hate to use this word because I don't think it's fair to your platform, but kind of crowd fund, right? Um, to pull their money together and now be kind of having a seat at the big boys table by working with somebody that they want to work with, and being able to get into those bigger deals.
Yeah.
So
Absolutely. And I wanted to just, kind of build on top of what you're saying, right? Another instance we've seen is it's really the trust factor, right? Like some people they actually do have the capital to deploy, 50K, 100K, but they might not necessarily feel comfortable doing that for the very first time, right? Like a lot of it is like, once I've built more trust with you, once I've worked with you, I'll feel more and more confident in wanting to do bigger deals or deploying more of my capital, right? So, instead of kind of doing it all or nothing, where it's like, you have to work with me at 100K or you can't, which is, how things have traditionally gone. It's like, well, that's okay, right? Like, why don't we try things at 5K, 20K for your very first deal that, we're working together on? And, what we've seen is like when that first deal is great and it's like, they realize, wow, Jose actually has really great communication. Like I've had such a great experience working with him. Next deal comes along, they'll definitely bump their check size. So that's another kind of behavior that we're seeing that just works so well with the trust and relationship building.
so in order to get involved in somebody's community, I've learned that you have to actually have your own fractional account, and that you're not stuck to just being in one community. You can be in multiple communities in fractional. So, if they want to be in my community, want to be in your, like say you had one, or, maybe there's one geared to strictly multifamily, or maybe there's one strict to a certain strategy. Let's say you, a community was dedicated to domestic violence, right? Finding
Mhm.
homes, purchase homes for domestic violence victims. You can invest. You can get into those type of communities. So I mean, that's the nice thing about fractional. You have an array of different opportunities to um, invest in, not just one, which is, I think, is awesome. Can you kind of share with the audience, like you did with me, as a community quote unquote leader, and I present a potential lending opportunity or project that people can lend into. How does that work within the community? Like, does everybody get to see what's going on? Does everybody get pulled to a side? Can you share how that works?
Yeah, so the way that things work is, as a community leader, whenever you have a deal it doesn't even have to be a deal you want to fundraise. It could just be any deal that is coming across your table that you want to just underwrite and, show to your community members. You're able to essentially like spin up a project. We really encourage community leaders to do what we call like a deal dive, which is basically like an underwriting session. So you can create an event, ask people to come to your underwriting session, and really just like break down your thought process, right? Like share with people what you think about the market, maybe how you're pulling comps, how you're going through pro forma, how you're evaluating the risk of the loan, whatever the project is about, right? And your entire community, they get to look at the deal with you. And what we've seen is like, even for deals that don't end up working, like it is such a great way for you to showcase that you know what you're doing. You're not just saying yes to like every single deal that comes across. It's like, hey, I'm actually a really great operator, and like this is what I'm looking for, so that when the golden opportunity comes, people feel a lot more trust. They're a lot more excited because they've seen 9 deals not work, and there's finally one that everybody is really stoked on, right? So then they'll want to, actually move forward and partner together on the project. And, on a project page, we have this thing on the right side, which has like a little blue button that's like commit to the project. So that's like if you actually want to invest, you go through identity verification. We just do that to, make sure all the investors are safe. You connect your personal bank account, and then, you fund the investment. And what's really cool is like you can kind of see the bar just fill up as more and more people invest. And once you get to 100% commitment, then you've got all your partners, you've got the capital, and everybody gets to invest in the deal together.
And then you share with me that those that are invested into that project kind of gets pulled into a sub community, so that all of the dealings, all of the project specific type of posts would only be shared with those people that are invested in that project, right?
Yes, exactly. So once the group, they're investing together, they're basically the partners in the joint venture, right? Like you all are business partners now. So you guys actually get a dedicated private community page. And think of it as like, your little private iMessage group, right? But it's a lot more functional, and it's on a platform. So, people can like ask questions, share updates, whatever it is, just talk amongst yourselves. We also, host the banking part of, the investment on that private subgroup as well. So everybody actually gets to see the bank ledger just for full transparency. That way you get to see like how much money, the group is making, what are the expenses, all that kind of stuff. We just really see that open up and create so much trust and like people understanding what's going on with their investments. That's where they'll receive their monthly P&L. They'll get their profit payouts through that part of the private page as well. So yeah, really like a contained space for the final business partners and the JV together to actually work on their deal together.
So let me just highlight that P&L, profit and loss statements. If you didn't hear, she says you get to see the expenses of that project. So where all the money that was invested in that project is going, whether it's to pay for an electrician, a plumber, go to Home Depot to pay for materials or whatever that project is spending money on. Those items are documented so that you can see what you're investing in, where the money that you invested is going. So there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. It allows you to be more active in the project, and you're involved, right? You get to see, wow, not only did I just give somebody or Jose money, right? Don't put that out there. Just give me your money. I'll invest it for you. Um, give Jose money, but he's actually, one, managing it properly. Two, it's going to where he says it's going, or where the project says it's supposed to go. And three, if the project is making money, you'll see how, when, and then, obviously depending on what the agreement is, your distribution on that project, whether it be, quarterly, annually, or whatever that particular project seems to be. So those are all great services that you guys provide.
Yeah, absolutely. So, instead of having to, hire a bookkeeper or, give everybody access to your Chase bank account, which is honestly like not feasible at all. Everything is just all in one in that, private, group for the business partners, and, everybody gets to collaborate on the project together.
That's awesome. So my channel is called Good, Bad, and Ugly about real estate. Can you share a good story you've had, and then afterwards, just kind of share a horror story that you had in your real estate career?
Yeah, well, good story. I definitely love this story about how I got into my first Airbnb property, because I really think it's like teamwork makes the dream work in this situation here. So I mentioned earlier, like I am a numbers girl. I love underwriting, just crunching numbers, things like that. So usually, like I am very involved in like the early stages of an investment, like looking at all the sorts of deals, trying to figure out what's a good one, what we can make on rent, all that kind of good stuff. So, um, you know, when I was in single family long term rentals, I was just, hearing, getting kind of like that shiny object syndrome where it's like, oh my gosh, everybody is making like 3 times my cash flow going on a short term rental. Like, I kind of want to get into one, but I have no idea like how to manage a short term rental property. Like, that seems really complex. All these listings on Airbnb, they also look super nice. Like, how do I even do that? So ended up working with a few investors that were really artistic. Like, they were interior designers, they painted murals and all of that. So we bought a property out in Houston, and then they went out there and made the house Travis Scott theme. So that
Oh
was like
wow!
super, super cool. I'm like, never in my life have like would I imagine that like I would be in this like really creative spot. So we did that. That was just so awesome. And then we were also deciding like, do we hire a property manager and pay them, 20%, 25%, which is honestly a lot. But that's just, how it is. Or, are there people in our group that can like actually self-manage the property? And, we ended up having two of our partners that they already self-managed properties before, and they were willing to do that for the property. And we ended up agreeing on paying them 8%. And that was like such a big win for us, because it's like, why would we pay an external property manager who like has no skin in the game, right? Like, they
Yeah,
could honestly care less because they don't own this property. Why would we pay them, 20, 25% rather than paying our own fellow partners who like have equity in this and just pay them 8%? So that was like a home run case for me where I'm like, never could have done this myself. Like, I'm in this Travis Scott Airbnb, have really great partners. We're making a lot more money than just, working with an external property manager. So I love that investment. That is definitely a great about real estate type of scenario. Um, Bad and ugly, definitely seen some of those as well. Definitely have been in projects where they didn't quite go as planned. Like, I bought a property where, things were all really good. We had a tenant that, had their lease signed and everything. And, you know, before we knew it, it was like bad weather. The pipes broke, the whole property flooded. We didn't really account for that in the reserves either. So it was a pretty tricky spot. So definitely had lessons learned there where I am a lot more conservative with how I underwrite. Usually I like to, essentially like pool more capital that we think we'll need, just having a really healthy reserve. Like, that's another thing that I think is really important when you have partners. Is like, it's just so much easier to just think about the bad and ugly up front and just be prepared for the worst case scenario, and make sure everybody's on the same page, and just have that money collected from everyone up front, rather than like, shit hits the fan and then we don't have a healthy enough reserve. And then now you gotta, call for a capital call, which, lucky enough for me, like my partners were reasonable, like they understood, and, we went through the capital call just fine. But you can imagine a whole different scenario where maybe, now the partners are like freaking out, and, a capital call is never as easy as just, initially getting that money together up
right.
front, right? So yeah, definitely a lot of lessons learned. And, I think the thing about real estate is you just gotta be extremely real. Like, bad things will happen, and that's just how it goes. So yeah, always just, mentally bracing myself for what's going to happen. And yeah, you get pleasantly surprised when you think that way.
So just for the audience, a capital call is basically once you raise money for a project, and then let's say a month, two, hopefully never, down the road, uh, an emergency happens and you don't have any money in reserves. A capital call, then you go back to those same investors that you just raised money from, letting them know that the project has hit a snag, and then you're asking them for more money. No investor ever wants to have a capital call. It's just very uncomfortable. It doesn't paint you as an investor or an operator in good light, because people start questioning your ability to manage a project or to um, be prepared for emergencies. So you should always plan for that up front. Uh, Always have either a large, healthy capex, which is capital expenses fund, so that in case unforeseen things happen, you have some money there for that. Even in the single family homes, you want to make sure that you um, even your monthly profits, put like a percentage away. We call it our war chest,
Yeah.
to make sure that you have money set aside for any unforeseen um, issues, especially up in the northern states where it gets cold and water pipes burst because they weren't maintained properly, or maybe say the house sat vacant before you bought it, and then you never thought about it because you bought it during the summer, and you know when the winter comes, all of a sudden pipes just start bursting. So um, that's awesome. Let's see, what else did I want to ask you real quick. So we talked about fractional. We talked about your good, bad, and ugly. So you already present yourself as a well-rounded investor, and we all know that you got fractional for us as a have. So what are your needs? What if somebody wanted to provide you something to help you build your business, whether it be single family, multifamily, or even help you with fractional? What are the things that you have that you need that somebody can bring to the table and joint venture with you, or collaborate with you?
Yeah, I love that question. Well, we definitely need more amazing community leaders. Like, there are so many people that, need support, right, in their journey towards, financial freedom, financial wealth, right? So, definitely need more community leaders on fractional who are working on really awesome things and, want to build a community where they're supporting others and building a dream of a really great portfolio together. So that's definitely something that we would love to keep growing and supporting folks on. Personally, for me, I am so actively investing and would love to joint venture with other people as well. That is another personal favorite part for me about building fractional is you kind of get a double dip a little bit. Like, I am always constantly just seeing what people are up to, kind of the communities they're building, and whenever there's a really interesting deal, I'm like, heck yeah, count me in. Like, I also want to invest in this. So if you've got really cool projects and want another partner, like, I am so down to be a part of that as well. So definitely let me know about that. And the last kind of need or ask is we would love to support other forms of business building that would thrive with a community sort of setup with joint ventures on fractional as well. We obviously started with real estate because there is such a strong demand and need for this, but more recently, especially being a part of the sub two community, like, people are building businesses that are adjacent to real estate that they want capital partners, equity partners on. And from what we've heard, like, it's a no-brainer that you want to joint venture on those types of businesses as well. So that is something that is actively in the works for us that I would love to figure out on how we can support. So if anybody is building a business and looking for partners, I would love to just pick your brains on how you're doing that and see how we can work together.
Awesome. So what I hear is everybody needs to get an account on fractional. Everybody needs to become a community led leader, and then everybody needs to make sure that they add you into their community so that you can invest with them and they can invest with you. That's what I
Yep,
got.
you got it.
Awesome. Well, Stella, it was great having you on the podcast. You've been awesome. Thank you for telling us about fractional and walking us through your story. If anybody want to get a hold of you, I know Fractional is one place, but if you want to share your social media so they can reach out to you, how would they do that?
Yeah, definitely. Well, definitely find me on Fractional because I am on there 24/7. Also on Instagram and Facebook as well. My handle is Hella Stella. And then you can find Fractional on Instagram and all the socials as well. Our handle is Fractional App.
So fractional.app, app, that's the website to get to Fractional. And then don't worry about all of her social media because I'll have it in the description on the video. So if you didn't catch it when she said it, you can look down there, grab it. Thank you, Stella, for being on the podcast. I really appreciate it. It's been a pleasure. I've been looking forward to this for so long. So I'm hopefully that this video will get a lot of views and people will adhere to becoming community leaders for you.
Absolutely. Well, thanks for having me. This was so much fun, Jose.
Thank you. And fam, to the next episode. We'll talk to you later.